Here is what we're after today. We are gonna create awesome kind of aura effect for our 3D animated weapons using two well-known industrial software which are Houdini and Nook, and we will be learning on how to affect particles from smoke and make the particles look as magical as possible. Finally, we will composite all the layers and passes using Nook to get the final look. Just so you know, all the project files including my hip file and Nook script in this video are available on my Gumroad. And with that, you will get all the primary nodes which you can apply them to every object that you want to create the effect on. Consider checking it out. It really helps me to do future tutorials like this one. Okay, so to get started, we want to look at some references to because it's good to have an idea of what we are going to create. And I have found a really nice source effect from this Batman video, and it's kind of hard to see right now, so I will skip to the frame when it is really obvious. This right here. Okay, so as you can see, there is a particle simulation on his shot, which is updated from a volume, and this effect is kind of subtle, but it's really make a contribution to the look of the shot. It will make the weapon becomes more more dynamic and more powerful. And for sure I will provide all of these links in the description of this video, so you guys can have a look later on. So another one would be the Diablo cinematic trailer, and yeah, this aura effect is kind of the same as the Batman video before, but in this shot I think it will contain about 2 or 3 effect layers. Let's hop right into Houdini to create this. So first thing first, you need to download the 3D animation, and I know a site which is Mixamo, which gives you a tons of 3D animation. And so for this character I am using the Paladin Northstorm, and you can scroll it down and find this character. And yeah, I think it's this character, but I think there is still one which has weapon. Let me see. Okay, so this the character that we after. Click on use this character, and after that you need to click on the animation tab, and you go find for short and sealed idle, and yeah, this is the animation. So you can change the override. This I believe this is the speed of the animation, but I use 50, which is the default setting. And you can click on download, and for the frame per second I prefer using 24 because it's a standard FPS for film and TV show, and the other settings will be fine. And you click on download, and it will give you an FAX file. So let's import to Houdini. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm using Houdini 19.0.383, but you guys can use whatever version that you like. And there are 2 settings that I want you guys to follow. The first one would be, oh, and by the way, you need to press D to pop out this window. The first one would be on the guides tab. By default, the geometry information is set to off, but I think it is better to set to always on, so we can know how many particles we have in our simulation. And the second one would be on the background tab. The color scheme by default is set to light, which is not really contrast to see. So when we set to dark, we can easily see our particles and our geometry. Okay, so after that we need to create a new project. So let's click on File, New Project, and we locate to where we normally save our Houdini projects, and mine is on the D drive. And we need to create a name for our file, and maybe I will name this to Aura Weapon Effect. Click on Accept, And since we already create a new name here, we don't need to set name on this tab. And click on accept. And Houdini will automatically create a file for us, and it's really convenient. And but however, the file is not actually saved, so we need to click save as and change this to job, and we name this to our the same name, maybe our weapon effect V001 as version 1. Click on accept. So let's click on this icon. So since we only simulate 72 frame, I will change this to 72. But you know what, in when I work at my studio, I usually simulate from 1001 to 1072, so we can have some pre-roll frame. And actually I will change this to 980, so when we reach the frame 1001, we already see our effect. And click on apply and close. And another icon would be the real-time toggle. Let's click on this so we can see our viewport in real time. So let's drop down a geometry node, and I will name this to import. So this is where we import our 3D model for preparing for our effect. And let's get inside, and for the first thing, we need to import our 3D model to the APC file, and let's Ctrl V. Okay, so let's drop down an agent source and change the input to FAX, and the FAX file would be the this animation here. Click on accept, and we can see our animation right here. And we need to change the current clip to mixamo.com. Okay, so right now the model is a pack model, so we need to unpack that by dropping down an unpack source, or you can just simply use the convert source. It's kind of the same as the unpack, but I use the convert source right now. Okay, so the idea here is we want to simulate this effect on a static version, and because it's way easier to do that, and then we can transfer the effect to a more complicated mesh, and in this case is our FX animation. Okay, so let's drop down a node here, and I will name this to our char for character. And since we want to simulate the shield and the sword separately, we want to use a split node to isolate between two weapons. Okay, so I will simulate the shield first. I will name this to okay, so let's choose the shield. Click on the shield and hit enter. Okay, so I will name this to our shield, and this one will be our others. Maybe when I simulate the sword, I will drop down another blast node to only isolate the sword, and maybe I will do this right now. Okay, so delete non-selected, and finally we can name this to our sword. Okay, and as I said before, we want to have a static version, so we can simulate easily. And for the first thing, I will drop down a time shift node to freeze this shield on the first frame, and in this case is 980, and we'll type frame start, F start for frame start. And so right now the shield is completely static, and I will transform this to the origin, move centroid to origin, and I will kind of transform it to make the shield straighten up. You don't need to be really accurate in this case, but let's see. Okay. Okay, so we have our static version. So let's simulate this. Drop down another node, and we'll name this to our shield sim. Okay. So let's get outside and drop down a geometry node, and we'll name this to setup. Let's get inside and drop down an object mode, and I will Ctrl V on this node and Ctrl V on the object tab. Okay, so if you notice right here, the shield is not enough. It's not does not have enough geometry for us to simulate. So it's good to have a remesh node. Okay, so we will just define the target size right here, maybe 0.003. Let's see. Okay, so the shield is really dense right now, which is ideal for us to simulate this. And the second thing would be, we want this aura effect is kind of wrap around the shield. It's kind of affected outside the shield, so it's good to have a peak node. And I will change the distance to 0.01. Okay, so let's see. Let's template this. Maybe it's not enough, so we'll change this to 2. Okay, I think it's good right now. And let's drop down a point warp node to have our first noise. I will name this to noise density. Okay, so let's get inside. I will use the AA follow noise. Maybe no AA noise, because we don't use the flow right here. Let's plug the position to the B to the position, and the noise to the CD. Okay, so you can see it's define a dark area and the white area. The white area is where we have density, and the dark is where we don't have it. So let's adjust the noise a bit, and let's change the noise type to simplex, and the frequency I will increase it, so we have more noise area. Maybe 14. Okay, so this maybe is enough, and I will drop down a fit range, because we want to kinda normalize this noise. So I will change this to -0.1. The source mark would be 0.4, and the destination mark would be 0.1, because we want to have at least 0.1 density in this dark area. Okay, so let's get outside. So this is our first noise, and I will use another point warp to define our velocity. Name this to V for velocity. Oh, I forgot to generate normal, so I will use a normal sort, and we'll change the art normals to points, and let's click on this icon to visualize the normal. Okay, so let's hop right into the attribute warp, and in this warp I will use the cross product function. And if you don't know about this function, you can check the Foresight channel out, and he explains really well about this function. So if you skip to the to the chapter cross product, you can see he visualized the cross product in Photoshop, which is really easy to understand. And so definitely to check it out. So I will cross product between my normal and an up vector, and in this case is already accurate. It's O1 and O, and let's plug right into the V to visualize this. And by default I believe is way more messy. Yeah, is the land scale is kinda is way too high, so you just need to click on this icon and reduce the land scale to so you can see more easily. Okay, so by using the cross product, we can generate a vector that kinda swirl around the shield, and we can use even another cross product to make a vector that grow to the other side, to the left and right. Yeah, and from this point we can use a mix node to get back some normal vector, and I find the value about 0.315 is good for our case. And to make our vector more interesting, I will drop down a turbulent noise and plug the P to post and multiply the vector to this. Multiply the vector to this noise. Okay, so we can have, let's increase this. Okay, so as you can see, we can have some vectors that are stronger than the other. So let's modify the turbulent noise a bit. So the noise type would be the spark convolution noise, and let's increase the frequency to maybe yeah, maybe 10. Yeah, maybe this is enough, and maybe we could change the roughness a bit. Maybe point. Okay, so maybe I think it's good. So you can see some vectors is kind of zero, so we need to sort of normalize this. So we want some source mean to be 0.5. We want to fit the vector from negative 0.5 to 0.5 to the decimal mark to 0.25, and I find the decimal mark 0.35 is good for our case. Let's reduce the land scale a bit. Okay, so we have a really nice vector, sorry, a really nice velocity, and we can even drop out another mix to get back some normal vector. And in this mix node I find a value of 0.265 is ideal. Okay, so that's all for our velocity. And I forgot to make a density attribute in this attribute form. So let's use by export node, plug the shift to input. The type float is fine, and the name would be density. So right now the CD is just for visualizing. To make the velocity more interesting, we want to drop down a point velocity node, and since we want to keep our custom velocity, we want to change the initialization to keep incoming, but we want to add some crow noise, maybe just a bit. And the burst duration is how fast or slow the velocity change. So I want this velocity to alter slowly, so I will increase it to about the value of maybe 2.5, and the swirl size is I want the swirl size to be very small, about 0.5, and we can even change the offset. This is not really matter because this is just a seed. 0.25. Okay, so we have two materials for simulating smoke. one is density and another would be the velocity. So let's rasterize this into volume by using the volume rasterize attribute, and we use the real type density and v here. So this is really huge, so I will change the particle scale to a more proper number. 0.02 is good, and the font size is really large right now, so I will change this to 0.005. Okay, so we can see our volume really defined right now. So we have density and V for our VDBs, and let's start simulating smoke by dropping down drop network. So this is where we're simulating smoke. Let's hop inside and we'll create a pyro software spa, volume source, and smoke object spa, and let's collect them together, the volume source to sourcing. Okay, so for the volume source, we change the initialize to sync and change it back to source mode to let the Houdini create some preset for us. And let's make sure to click on enlarge fields to contain sources, and the input would be the first context geometry because we connect the volume rasterize attribute to the first input. And for the density, we'll change the source scale to about 0.6. And the temperature, we don't really need it because we want the volume motion to be fully controlled by the velocity. And for the velocity, I will reduce it to about 0.025 because it don't really need to be really high. And that's it for the volume source, and we might need some macro solvers to make the smoke to be more interesting. And let's first create a merge node and connect it to the affixation and create a gas turbulent node. Okay, so for the first turbulent, I want it to be rather small, to be 0.025, and the source size to be also very small, and we can alter the grain a bit, and maybe I will change the turbulence, so it will be more turbulent than the other gas turbulence that I'm gonna create. And the seed, I will change this a bit. Okay, so let's create another gas turbulence. Let's plug this into this merge, and for this one I will create a large turbulence. The scale would be 0.025 and the source size would be 0.07, which is higher than this source size. Okay, so this is a small noise and this is a big noise, and we'll combine two noise together to make a really interesting volume motion. And we can even put down a gas vortex confinement to add some vortex movement to the smoke, and the confinement scale would be 0.0, maybe 0.85, yeah, rather large. So let's simulate this to see how the volume work. Okay, so this is a really low res volume, so I might need to change the resolution a bit. And for the voxel size here is 0.005, so I will also type here to the same resolution. Okay, so let's resimulate again. Okay, Okay, so you can see this is a really nice volume simulation. It's really slow right now because we are simulating at a really low, a really high res. So let's play again. Okay. So to make the volume warp around the shield, we might need to create a collision for the shield. So let's create a collision source and connect the remesh to this collision source. And for the first input, I will drop a node and we'll name this to our collision 0, and another one would be our collision VDP, and I will also change the volume resolution to be 0.005. So if we turn on this, we can see the volume represent really nicely. Okay. So let's get back to the .NET, and we need to create a static object. And for the source path, I will copy this node to the source path, and we'll click on the collision tab, and we change the we change the mode to the volume sample, and scroll down, you will see the proxy volume. So this is where you need to type the collision BDB. Okay, so let's visualize this. So if you display the geometry, you see the collision 0, but if you turn on the collision guide here, you can see the BDB version. Okay, so let's create a merge node and connect them together. Okay, also let's get outside and create a dot import field, and we need to drop here, and the default object would be smoke, and the preset would be smoke. We don't need res, we don't need temperature, we don't need CD, we need density and val for updating our particles. Okay, so let's simulating this. So this is kind of slow, so I will drop down a file cache to cache this to this, so we can have a better preview. I will name this to by default this I set this by default, but you can change this to $job sim /$os, and whatever, and $os is your name here. So whatever name you put here is automatically update here. So for example, if I type volume affect, so when you cache it, it's automatically changes to volume affect. So let's cache this out. Okay, so I have already finished caching the file, and I also prepare a playblast for you so you guys can have a better preview. So let's play this. So this is the volume simulation, which is really important for our particle affection. Okay, so let's move on to simulate the particles. So we need our source, so and we can copy these two these three nodes, the shield and the remesh and the peak. And for the peak, I don't really think we need this distance. I can divide it by 2, so it's only 0.01, and I think it should be fine for a particle simulation. And same to this. We need a first we need to scatter points onto the surface of the shield, and let's add a scatter. We don't really need the reline iteration because it's really makes the scene slow, so let's turn it off. And for the force total count, maybe we need to add 30 for this so we can test it. Let's see. Okay, so this is 1 million. We only need 110,000 for testing and simulation. And as I said before, we need a emission. So let's create a attribute vault, for attribute vault, and I wanna name this to emission. Let's dive inside, and we can add a turbulent noise. Plug the B to the boss, the noise to the CD, and you know what? We can export all of these parameters outside the shop, so we don't need to dive inside to modify this. So let's right click on the turbulent noise for the input. Sorry, for the parameter VOPs option, we can click on the create input parameters. Okay, so let's get outside and modify it a bit. And for the noise type, I prefer using the spark convolution noise, and we can turn the frequency a bit to about the value of 21. Okay, and for the offset, we want the source to be really dynamic, so we can add an expression here. We can add frame, so the noise will be moving up, as you can see. But right now it moves really quickly, so maybe I will tune it down by multiply it with 0.7. So it will be slow down a bit. Okay, so for the amplitude, I will increase it to the number 3, and for the roughness, maybe 5.567. I don't know, it's just my magic number. Okay, so let's since we don't need the black area, we can delete this, and let's use a blast node. And for the group, I will type rcd.x less than 0.1, so we delete the points that have the CD less than 0.1 value, and let's change the group type to points. So by turn it on, turn it off and on, we can see the points value here. It deletes the points. Okay, so let's simulate this by using the pop network. Let's plug the first input to the let's plug the blast to the first input, and the second one could be the volume effect. Okay, for the simulation, the start frame is already accurate. Let's dive inside, and we need for the source, for the pop source, since we already create points in the sub level, we need to change the ampersand type to on points. And for the bird, I think the life expectancy is 0.7, should be 5 for our case. And for the life variance, I usually paste the life expectancy, paste the relative channel reference, and divide it by 2, so we can have the value of 0.35 for the life variance and the attribute. And I don't think we don't need to inherit any velocity here. We want to fully control by the volume effect. So let's drop down pop effect by volumes. Okay, so the velocity source should be the second context geometry, because we plug the volume effect to the second input, and the field name value is good. The adjustment type I usually use update position because it's much more accurate than the other settings. And the velocity update should be final velocity, and adjustment method is chase. And maybe I will tune it down the velocity scale a bit to 0.5. I think that's it. Maybe we need to copy the collision to the PubNet. So let's copy these two nodes, plug it right here, so we can let our particle to collide with our shield. Let's get outside and simulate it a few frames to see the result. Okay, so it works really nicely. So I think all we have to do right now is to increase the point count and caches. So let's do this. Let's do this right now. For the scatter, I will multiply it by 5, and let's drop our file cache. I will name this to particle shield, and of course we will create another one for the sort simulation, and I'm gonna name this to particle sort. Click on version 1 and load from this, and I'm gonna cache this, and I will be back in a second. Okay, so this is our result so far. So we have approximately about 4 million particles, which is enough for rendering. So let's continue by dropping down a wrangle, and we are gonna define our particle scale by using p-scale attribute. So this is a float attribute, so I'm gonna write an f here, f at p-scale, and this p-scale is calculated based on h by h and live attribute. So I'm gonna create a RAM for it. I will name this to scale RAM, and this attribute is based on nh. Nh is an attribute which is maybe you don't need to do this. Nh will be equal to h divided by live. So this is a short version of this math. So yeah, I just write this. I just want to write this because it's much more organized, and we'll close bracket, and maybe we need a multiply for overall p-scale. So I will name this to overall p-scale. Okay, so let's explore two of these parameters. Okay, so for the scale RAM, I will adjust this to the B-spline, which is which give us a really smooth result. So I will drop this, bring this up, and drop this down. Maybe add some points in between. So basically, what the RAM telling here is we want particle is smaller when it bonds, and becomes smaller when it dies. It reaches their life. Okay, and hope it makes sense when we render it. Okay, so I think this p-scale this scale RAM should be fine. And the overflow scale, maybe I will type this to 0.001. Maybe we will alter this number when we actually render this, and I will name this to p scale. And okay, so we have simulated this effect on a static mesh, and let's transfer it back to the animated mesh by using the point deform. Okay, so this point deform has three inputs. The first one is this particle, and the second one would be the shield, the static shield. And let's copy the static shield, go to import, and let's see. Okay, so this is the static shield. We'll copy this and type OM for object merge. You'll paste this here, and the third one would be the animated shield. So we're gonna just copy this and create another object merge, paste this here, and voila, let it cook for a second. Okay, so we have our result. Okay, so let's check this by copy this agent node, create another object merge, and merge them together. As you can see, the particle is slightly stick to the shield. Which is really good. Okay, so we finished. Sorry, we need to add another trail to recalculate our velocity, so we can calculate the motion blur, and the result type would be compute velocity, and match by attribute by ID. Okay, so finally let's drop down a node here and name this to our shield PRT for particle. And for the sort is pretty much the same. I will copy all of this setting and paste this here. So let's do it right now. And basically you can copy this setup to to every weapon that you like. So let's find our sort. Okay, so for the first thing, the sort is not on the position of the sort is not on the origin. So let's transform it. So let's copy this and alter the name to our sort sim. Copy it to the setup, and I'm gonna make a setup here, setup for the seal here. Sorry, for the sort here. I will copy all of this. paste it here. We connect them two together. So let's check the result. The remesh works for verify the peak node, the noise density. Okay, I forgot to time save it. To app start. Okay, so the sort will be completely static, and maybe for the noise density I will make it more dynamic, like the velocity, and I'm gonna dive inside. For the AA noise, maybe I will drop down I will control the offset by the time, and I will use a float to vector. I will use the time, plug it here. Okay, and I will just control this by the offset, and as you can see, the noise is moving, which is we will make the noise become more interesting. And yeah, I will do this on this stream, and I will cast this. So maybe the noise is moving a bit slow right now, so I will multiply it by 1.5. let's see. Okay, so let's copy this noise density, choose this, delete this, and paste it here. And of course I'm gonna cast these two nodes, and I will teach you a way to cast all of four nodes by one click. Okay, so I will delete this and create a new file cache. So this is a I will name this volume artifact sort, and for this one, maybe for the sort, I think I will decrease the velocity scale a bit to 0.4, and I will delete this, create another file cache, name this to particle sort. Sorry, sort, I'm misspelling. Okay, so name this to our sort PRT, and one thing more, we need to change this to this our shield, and we'll alter this to the sort. Okay, so let's catch 4 of these nodes, and let's get outside and click on the Alt tab, and we are gonna create 4 fetch node. And the first one, I will click inside the file cache. We'll copy this render, this drop geometry output. I will paste this to here. I'm gonna create another one. Click inside, copy this, same to the shield, and finally the particle shield. Okay, so if we click on the last node, the fast 4, click on this camera and change the order to node by node, and when you render, it will cast all of these 4 nodes at one time. It will cast this node first, and to this node, and finally to this node. Okay, so I think this is pretty much for our today's video, and I think this video is quite long now, and we will be learning on how to look depth, lighting, rendering, and compositing these particle layers in Nook. And yeah, the chapter 2 will be released next week. And if you like this video, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.